I'm constantly aware of whatever's percolating in the news. And I go to sleep with it on my mind with an idea of what I want to touch on. But then I wake up the next day and say, am I correct? Let me double check. Has something changed? Is the momentum shifted? Is there something else going on that people want to hear about? And that's when I brought up the fact that when you're doing a podcast or a YouTube show, unless you're doing something daily, it becomes a challenge, because I might want to do this today. But now, if I don't come back on the air until 2-3 days from now, I got to think about how relevant that is going to be 24, 48, 72 hours from now. When you're doing it daily, not so much. But the daily part is the daily grind, because you have to make a commitment. And when you make that commitment to your audience, you got to live up to it. If your audience expects to see you daily, your ass got to be there daily. You can't be somebody that, come watch me daily, and then they see you every now and then. That doesn't work. You got to condition the audience to expect whatever it is that they're going to expect from you. And I roll with it with that approach. I wake up every morning, 6:30, getting a little exercise, got my morning meeting at 7:30, formulating the rundown for First Take, studying before I go on the air for First Take, studying, making sure that the rundown for the other shows that I'm going to do is in place. Go on First Take, get that out the way. Make sure I do those other shows, get that out the way. But if I'm in the car, I'm listening to sports and news. If I'm sitting down, I'm reading sports and news. If I'm watching television, I'm watching sports or news. I'm one of those guys that I'm constantly on. There are exceptions, when you with your honey, there's an exception. When you with your children, that's an exception, But for the most part, that's your life.
Yeah, people don't understand like that grind it takes. And when I was, starting the podcasting game, and when I talked to Dwayne Wade and he says, treat it like you starting your basketball career, they're not going to respect the athlete of you, so become the journalist. Right? Because they are journalists. They got degrees. They went to school for the job you're going to get because of your name. So once I figured that out and I got that information, I started looking at all the tops to see what makes them great. And then to realize is the grind behind the scenes of watching, studying. That's why, you guys have lasted so long. So that's what made this show so good. Right? You put so much effort and time into it, understanding like personalities, what's moving, what's not, what's hot. What's entertaining, what's not. Reading the comments, see, you know what I mean? So, that's what I prided myself on, is becoming a journalist and the entertainer at the same time. And I respect, what made everyone so great. That's why I wanted to know how you started. And the fact that you said you got paid $1,000 and did it Jesus Christ.
550 times.
550?
550 appearances.
In 1 year. I'm slipping.
And I think that year, he couldn't believe it. I think that year, I was on the air every day but 2 days.
For the entire year?
Yes, I was like 363 days. And I'm sitting there looking at people like, what's the problem? It doesn't faze me. And that was when I had to go to a studio. That wasn't once I built the studio in my home. You know what I'm saying? So it was like, once it's in the home, I'm looking at it, I'm like, we got people out here, look at the median salary that exists in the United States of America. You got cats struggling to make $60,000 a year, And so you gotta look at things from a practical perspective sometimes, because that's what the audience does. They look at their lot and they look at us as being at an elevated level. And rightfully so, because we're making the kind of money that the average person in America won't make. And so when you look at the fact that the average person is struggling to make ends meet, struggling to pay their rent, their mortgage, food on the table, basic shit that we grew up with that we had to overcome in order to get to the places that we are, what possible excuse can you have if you doing television and they call you and we need you to come on the air for 15 minutes? Well, what's the problem? How is that really a challenge? I know cats who will remain nameless that have lost their jobs in our business because they were assholes to producers and stuff like that, who were calling them, yo, man, I need you for SportsCenter. I need you for this show. I need you for that shit. Nah, I ain't got time for that. The greatest, I remember my former boss, his name was John Wildtag.